Whether you're considering boarding a cruise ship for the first time or trying to convince a friend or family member to take the plunge, this video is for you. As we objectively as possible list some of the pros and cons of going on a cruise vacation to help ensure your next trip is smooth sailing. Up next. Welcome aboard, cruisers. I'm Don B from Eat Sleep Cruise, where we help you see the world one port at a time. And now listen, I get it. A channel called Eat Sleep Cruise, talking about the pros and cons of going on a cruise. But honestly, we get this question a lot from viewers of our channel and readers on our blog who are thinking about going on a cruise. They want to know if it's right for them or if they're going to like it. So we put together this video to be as objective as possible to weigh the pros and cons of going on a cruise. Now, of course, one of the big benefits about cruising is that you can go to almost any place in the world. Odds are when you think about a cruise, the first thing you imagine is some sandy beaches and warm, sunny weather. And it is true that about 1 in 5 cruises in the world go to the Caribbean, the Bahamas, or Bermuda. But that's not the only place you can go on a cruise. Cruises that go to Central and Western Europe, Northern Europe, Alaska, the west coast of North America, Asia, Australia, the Panama Canal, Canary Islands, Canada-New England cruises, transatlantic cruises, you get the picture. Cruise vacations are very diverse. Not only are there ocean cruise ships, there are also river cruise ships that can take you to some really unique places. So unlike some other vacation options, when you say I want to go on a cruise, you really have a plethora of different options available to you to really see the world one port at a time. You get it? That's our tagline. And we've been very fortunate in our 80 plus cruises to visit over 40 different countries and 5 continents. Another benefit of cruising is that it's a hotel that travels with you. Now, it's one thing if you're absolutely content being lazy near the pool of a stationary resort, some all-inclusive in like a Caribbean island or Mexico. But if you're looking to travel from place to place on your next trip, costs can quickly add up in the form of rental cars, multiple hotel rooms or vacation rentals, plus there's transportation in the form of train rides, metros, or flights. A cruise ship is a hotel and a resort that travels along with you from port to port. Spend the day in Spain, and you can wake up the next morning and you're in France. Sailing while you sleep is not only convenient, but allows you to spend more time of your getaway actually getting away from it, and less time worrying about the logistics. Now, cruises aren't just about the transportation, as your price includes the accommodations, most meals, onboard entertainment, and activities. It is true that if you look for some all-inclusive resorts, they often bundle meals, drinks, and rooms into one price, but those all-inclusive resorts aren't mobile. Each cruise fare elements do differ depending on the cruise line and your cabin category, and there are upgrade packages. However, every cruise line's fare does include your cabin, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at multiple different complimentary restaurants, some form of onboard activities or evening entertainment, and then there are additional facilities like a pool or spa, along with your journey to your different destinations. And even if the cruise fare doesn't come with an open bar or specialty dining, cruise lines are increasingly offering these packages as deals that you can upgrade to when booking your cruise. You can also prepay your tips, beverages before you're sailing, and odds are they will be less expensive than if you decide to purchase them while on board. Some cruise lines also throw in things such as shore excursion credits, free Wi-Fi, and more. And while it is true that we love being out to sea, we will concede that one con is that there are some individuals who might feel uncomfortable being out to sea without any land in sight. Of course, we love sea days, but anyone with a legitimate concern of being out of sight of land might feel much differently. If you or a loved one has a deep-seated fear of being at sea, odds are picking a big ocean cruise ship isn't right for you. The anxiety might not be worth the effort. And honestly, we've sailed with other individuals before who felt very uncomfortable on the ship, and it made the trip quite awful for them and their loved one. And while modern cruise ships do have many innovations like stabilizers, there is always the potential that you will feel the motion of the ocean. So if you're prone to motion sickness, or feel that you might get motion sick, being on a big ocean cruise ship also might not be right for you. Neither Heidi or I are sensitive to the movements of the ship, but we have sailed with family members who unfortunately did get motion sickness on our last couple days because we hit some stormy weather. So we can speak from firsthand experience that getting motion sickness while on a cruise isn't fun. And while there are some remedies, including C-bands and some over-the-counter and prescription medications, they don't always work, and the potential side effects of some medications might make you feel even worse than if you got seasickness. Although there are alternatives to ocean cruises, and those are river cruises. With these smaller vessels, land is always in sight, and you really don't travel far, so you don't feel the movement of the ship as it goes from port to port each day. One reason that cruising has become even more popular in recent years is that it's great for multi-generational travel. The grandparents want museums and cultural sites, while the kids want go-karts and laser tag. And all you want to do is have a family vacation where everyone can get along and enjoy themselves. If you pick the right cruise ship and itinerary, you won't have to choose between a European adventure that'll be enriching for your parents and amusement park style attractions to keep your little ones entertained. Contemporary cruise lines like Norwegian Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, Disney Cruise Line, and MSC Cruises offer voyages all around the world on ships with very impressive features. These can include virtual reality arcades, escape rooms, state-of-the-art kids clubs, and even onboard water parks that rival those on land. You might be having burgers and shakes with your teens near the pool deck one evening, and then ordering a nice bottle of wine for two at the upscale Italian restaurant Onda by Scarpetta the next. The appealing thing about a cruise is that there is a little bit of something for everyone. This makes traveling as a family or a group much less stressful. The nice thing about cruising is that there is usually a cruise ship for every type of traveler. While many contemporary or mainstream ocean-going ships can accommodate thousands of other people, those are not the only cruise ships on the market. If you follow our channel, then you know we love mega ships, and we have sailed on the world's largest cruise ships from all the major cruise lines. And we will admit that sometimes on those cruise ships, there are other people with you, like thousands of other people with you. At times, certain venues can feel crowded. So if you're an individual who feels uncomfortable around crowds, you might want to pause before booking a cruise. If you know you might feel anxious in a sea of other folks, then you might want to think about an alternative type of trip, or at least look at a smaller cruise ship. But to be honest, every popular tourist attraction is crowded. So unless you're sitting on some isolated beach in the middle of nowhere, there are going to be crowds when you travel. But a good thing about cruising is you don't need to go on those mega ships that have thousands of people. And yes, we'll have lines and things like the buffet, or queues when entering an entertainment venue for a show. There are sailing ships that have just a few hundred people, or expedition-style cruise ships that carry just a few dozen people that can take you to all corners of the world. Best thing you can do is watch YouTube videos from channels like ours, or read reviews online to get a better sense of a particular ship's flow and ship layout. So if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe down below and to click the notification icon, and you'll be the first to know about our latest cruise reviews and cruise ship tours. Another common complaint we hear from individuals is that they'll feel confined on a cruise ship. Now, of course, we've never felt confined on a cruise ship, but it is possible that some individuals will feel restricted if they're quote-unquote stuck on a cruise ship for 3, 4, 7, or 10 days. It is true that once you board the cruise ship, you're there for the duration of your cruise. The cruise will take you to destinations and you can get on and off at those ports of call, but you are stuck with the particular itinerary that you picked. So it is more structured than other types of vacations where you might have more flexibility to get up and go and do things on different days. Of course, you can book a spacious cruise ship that has a lot of outdoor deck space and an itinerary that's port intensive with few sea days and many ports of call. Still, we get it. Some people just can't move beyond the feeling of being trapped on a ship because it is a confined space, even though modern cruise ships are like 20 decks tall. It is also true that on average, cruise cabins are smaller than hotel rooms. And if your idea of going on vacation is spending a lot of time in your room, which doesn't really sound much like a vacation to us, but to each their own, you can always, of course, consider booking a room with a balcony or even upgrading to a suite for more spacious accommodations. That's a possibility and might help ease some of those concerns that you're going to feel confined on a cruise ship. So it's pretty clear, right, that we've established that cruise ships are floating hotels and resorts. And as my wife Heidi always loves to say, the one thing we love about cruising is that you can see multiple places and only unpack once. But an additional benefit is that you can do as much or as little as you please. And this is true for each member of your family. Every moment of your time on board can be thrilling or relaxing. You can do as much or as little as you want, and your kids, your spouse, and your other family members can do the same exact thing. You can choose to take part in every activity one day and then spend the next day at the spa. The freedom of choice that's available and the convenience of a cruise ship make it a very compelling combination. All you want to do is relax near the pool, but your kids want to go to the kids club or do some of those activities like the go-karts or the arcade. That's totally doable, and no one needs to sacrifice their vacation. Many cruise line apps also allow free communication. That way you can always stay in touch with your kids or other family members as you divide and conquer and do the different activities on the cruise ship. Each individual can custom tailor their cruise experience, and then you and the family, you can meet for dinner. Or you can all go to the show together and then explore the rest of the ship on your own. Another benefit is that you might not need a passport to leave the US. While we always recommend a passport for international travel, closed-loop cruises are a unique loophole. This term simply means that if you begin and end your sailing in the same US-based port, you are typically able to get away with a government ID and birth certificate. No passport is required. So sail to Bermuda round trip from New York. Or check out Mexico and some ports in Central America from Galveston, Texas. You can even experience the wilderness of Alaska with a stop or two in Canada round trip from Seattle. Always check with the cruise line before booking. But cruising is a great way to introduce some international destinations or even far-flung states like Alaska or Hawaii to your family without having to have a passport. Of course, you've seen some of the online videos, and you've heard some of the jokes about the atmosphere on cruise ships or the other passengers. And while not all of it is true, we will admit there's a certain level of light-hearted camp on cruise ships. And whether it's the hokey announcements from the cruise director or the captain, or towel folding demonstrations, there are some activities that are uniquely found on cruise ships. There might be silly pool games with staff members, or your wait staff in the dining room might break out in song and dance one evening with napkins waving in the air. So a cruise might not be for you if you just take yourself way too seriously. The extent to which you might find this type of atmosphere does vary from cruise line to cruise line, but don't be surprised to find a little lame humor or over-the-top decor interspersed throughout your vessel. Honestly, really don't be surprised if you find yourself won over by the experience anyway. Now, if you're completely turned off from any of this lighthearted fun, there are some ships that double as actual research vessels. And there are a few cruise lines that focus more on lectures and enrichment than belly flop contests at the pool deck. So it is possible that you'll find a cruise where the onboard atmosphere is more akin to your personality and your taste. But generally speaking, a cruise vacation isn't a serious endeavor. Odds are this video has convinced you to take a cruise. All we have to do is find you the right ship. Well, lucky for you, Heidi and I sailed on the 9 newest cruise ships, and we rate them all right here on YouTube. Find out which ship had the best dining, best onboard entertainment, best staterooms, best bars and nightlife, and more. We compare all these vessels help ensure your next trip is smooth sailing.